kind of brief background on like why we're here, and then you talk a little bit about your journey. I love the uh
1 2 1 2.
so I was gonna cut you guys on so biggest. Tyler start laughing, so he gets loud. You see, you see how I cut him up? He's already laughing. Yeah. Not the Haitian though. The Haitian's not gonna get loud. Yeah, that's all right.
So as we're talking, am I looking at both of you guys? I was just looking at this camera. What?
Yeah, we're here. This is our first in person. If you're joining us, you'll see on the YouTube that we are live. We're here with Pastor Walker at Mount Pleasant Worship Outreach. This is the first time like Wells isn't like behind the camera. Yeah, this is our first like podcast like this.
It is.
In a while since we did it back in the day. Since back in the day. If you listen to the last podcast, you'll hear that Wells and I talked about we had a ton of experience podcasting. He disagrees with me on that, but nevertheless.
Our first initial in-person podcast, we actually, somewhat know what we're doing. So
I was not with us. He's sick. This is like second episode.
We had the 19.
Yeah, if he doesn't recover soon, we might
Wait, what?
We're not replacing him. Nah, that's our guy. Yeah. Get well soon, Al. We'll see you soon. Yeah. So we're really happy to have Pastor Walker with us. We're here recording. We're doing a video project, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Of like what exactly we're working on. But Pastor Walker, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background.
Well, my background is I'm originally from Raleigh. I actually grew up about 3 blocks from the church where we are now. I grew up in the hood. And so my background, we certainly had a lot of challenges growing up. My father was in my life, but basically I'm a single parent, raised by a single parent, my mom. I graduated from Eden Broad High School, and I wanted to leave the area, but I had a sense of this is where I needed to be. This is where I could make my greatest impact. So I went to school, to an IT school for a year, and basically did an IT career for about 21 years, and I was bivocational for 7 of those years. And then I became the senior pastor of Mount Pleasant.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know you did IT. So what part of IT did you
Well, my original plan was to get into computer operations.
Okay.
I went to school, learned IT. Long short, I was in computer operations for about 4 years, and I went back to school to learn programming.
Okay.
And I did that for the next 18 years or so.
Oh, wow.
So I worked with everything from small systems, mini, micro, mainframes, SNA, you name it. I have a pretty robust background in IT.
In IT. That's what's up, man.
A real self-starter.
Yeah.
A real self-starter.
I work right now as like a DevOps engineer. And so it's somewhat like background, like backend infrastructure, and things like that. So similar to things you're doing. So yeah, that's what's up. Glad to hear fellow engineer in the building.
Yeah, I ended up as a software engineer.
Okay.
So I started off as an operator and computer operator, and after a few years, ended up as a software engineer.
Oh wow! So from software engineer to pastor.
Yeah, software engineer and a pastor at the same time.
Oh yeah.
I was talking to Todd before we started recording this podcast, and he was saying he was working 60 hours a week. So I was doing about 70 hours a week.
I gotta step it up. I gotta step it up.
It got to be way too much. So I told the church, "Hey, look, I cannot do both of these. Yeah. I gotta let one of them go." And I felt a heartbeat to do church, so they agreed to do the full-time thing for me.
Okay, wow, that's pretty dope. Sheesh. Software engineer and pastor. That's like that's a lot of stress.
Yeah. It was a lot of stress.
Yeah.
You're writing code. You got to get into this code. Sometimes it will take you an hour just to get the location of the code. You need to change.
Exactly. And then you have to wait on people. Yeah. I know exactly how the corporate world is.
Yeah.
Projects due at a certain time. And you got to get it done. And then you got your congregation out here, someone suffering in some kind of like illness, or got to keep people accountable.
I was working on church stuff during lunch, on breaks, in the afternoon. I didn't sleep much. about 4 hours, and then it's back to work. So it was crazy for a while.
Oh my gosh.
I knew I needed to leave when I was at Thanksgiving dinner one day, and I'm sitting here running code in my mind. I'm decoding a program at Thanksgiving dinner, and that was like, this is the red light saying it's time to do something else.
Yeah, so that's one thing too. Like, I feel like once you in the engineering world, even though you like I tell people this all the time, even though I'm not working, like working remote is great, but you always working.
You're always working.
Like your mind is always working, because like when you jump into this project, you gotta like already been like processing it, doing it in your mind, and once you jump in, you kind of start doing what you gotta get to. So you never stop working as a software engineer.
You
so
never stop working.
I feel your stress.
Turning.
It's always turning. Yep.
Well, and I don't know if you consider yourself an entrepreneurial pastor, but I feel like the first
what does that term mean to you, Todd?
Just the first 3 or 4 sermons I've heard like from you, like the different times we've come throughout the years, and I'm like, man, I come away from your sermons thinking I'm about to go start a whole new business. like why not? Like why not go after it? And that's kind of the essence of why we're here today, because as we sit here in the fellowship hall, like right across from us, we're looking at like your vision, right? The vision that God put on your heart, and Summit at Sawyer. And talk a little bit about, what led the church to pursue this, and then what is Summit at Sawyer? What's the vision behind that?
Well, the vision behind Summit at Sawyer actually began many years ago. When we started the church, we were in a very depressed, economically depressed community, and we felt that there were 3 things that were necessary. There was spiritual empowerment, relational development, and economic empowerment. We felt that we were pretty decent in terms of the spiritual empowerment piece, but the economic piece was what was missing. So that was in part my background as well. How do we be transformative in our neighborhood by working on things that is going to bring economic equity and justice to people that are living in the area? That started with affordable housing. We felt that with the area being such a highly transitory community, we needed to do something to bring more stability, and that was bringing housing to the area. Also, with all of the violence, prostitution, gangbanging, you name it, that was going on in the community, we knew we had to also control the dirt.
Yeah.
So once we control the dirt, then we could in turn do the wraparound services that churches mostly do. But it started out with certainly the spiritual piece, and then saying we need to do something to improve the economics in the area.
That's what's up. What's like I guess you can let the people listen to the podcast, like what exactly did you guys do, like when it comes down to like Summit at Sawyer? Like I think we kind of talked about it a little bit, like you guys got a chance to build affordable housing. There's about like 150 units in there, I'm pretty sure.
Well, now it's about 190, because the first project, when we came to this location, we built this facility, and we knew nothing about low-income housing tax credits. I mean, absolutely nothing. But we had a vision that we wanted to take the whole street. We had no idea how we were going to do it. And the way we were going to attack it, we said that we were going to just start systematically buying the property. At the time, the property was pretty cheap. We got a house for $17,000 on half an acre. We got another quarter of an acre for $5,000. Another house, $38,000. So the property in this area was extremely cheap. And so we were going at it systematically. But a senator from North Carolina, John Winters, he saw that we had built this church, and he said, this church has made a strong investment in the community. Nobody has done that in over 20 years. So he wanted to meet Pastor. He wanted to meet me. So we sat down and talked. He was getting older, and he said, I don't want to leave my property to slumlords. So he said, you have a vested interest in the community, so I really want to give it to you. And I'm thinking, I said, sir, look, there's a real good option that we can basically want to take, but right now we don't have any money. And he said, let me tell you how to do it. It's going to be through low-income housing tax credits. And so he began to school us in terms of how we could use low-income housing tax credits to get this first property. It was a $3 million investment. We got the tax credits, and it's a 32-unit apartment housing complex. We renamed it the Shama Winds, Shama meaning God is there, Winds, His Spirit is blowing life into the community. After we got that 32-unit apartment complex and renamed it the Shama Winds, that expanded our vision. to say, okay, we can do a lot more
Yeah,
than
yeah.
just 32 units. And so this is how we ended up with the 154 unit summit at Sawyer, from the things we've learned with Shama Wades.
And I hear there's like a waiting list.
There's definitely a waiting list. We filled these apartments up in roughly 2.5 months. And there's a tremendous need. You're seeing apartments that are brand spanking new in the heart of downtown Raleigh. You can see the skyline, $600 a month.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the word gets around. It was a line. We were originally using the trail behind the church as a rental office. Man, that was a line of people trying to get in there to get the application. You have people that are homeless, people that are in substandard housing, that are moving into Summit at Sawyer. So once the word got out, we had probably 1,000 applications to process.
Oh my God.
With 154 units. So that lets you know the volume of what's happening on the street.
What was it like tough, like picking from those applications? Because you mentioned there's a lot of people.
Well, we had to go first come, first serve.
That's
how we did it.
Okay.
First come, first serve, and once we filled up, everybody else is on the waiting list.
On the waiting list. Okay.
Yeah. And what we did was we let people know about the units and about the apartments, especially the members of the church. And we did a pre-application. You could give us the information and we would put you in the queue, the top of the queue. And so we had about 150 people pre-applications. And then when we opened it up, it went to like about 1,000. Yeah.
Well, talk a little bit about just your heart behind telling this story now. Like, one of the reasons Wells is here, and we're here kind of taking Sunday and Monday and working through some interviews and having different people kind of come in and just capturing the essence of what pulled this together, kind of pulling all the stakeholders together. Why do you feel like it's important to tell this story right now?
I think it's extremely important to tell the story because I think that my church, being a small church, is doing something that most people think a mega church or a large church would do. But the reality is any small church can do what we're doing. And most Black churches are in areas that are economically disadvantaged, underserved. And we believe that by bringing affordable housing to those communities, that we have help people to build equity, generational equity. That's the reason why we're doing it. We believe that the church should take the leading role in terms of providing affordable housing. There are a lot of churches that have property, 60, 30 acres, whatever. And if they can tap into this low-income housing tax credit as a part of their vision, a part of their strategy, then we can really begin to make some really systemic changes, and especially minorities and Black people in particular.
Yeah.
So I want to do this podcast and the interview because I want other pastors, community leaders, nonprofits to actually know about low-income housing tax credits. You'd be surprised. The overwhelming majority of them do not know. They never even heard of low-income housing tax credits. So just to be able to say, hey, look, we did it. You can do it too. You can get the training. You can make this happen. I want this podcast really to go out to a lot of pastors, community leaders, others that are interested in fair housing, to know that there's a possibility to do it. If we did it, you can do it too.
Yeah. What is, like, I guess, low income tax housing or tax exemption?
Well, for us, it's 40 to 60% of medium.
Okay.
So medium, you probably could get in Summit, and don't quote me on this, okay? But somewhere in the upper 20s.
Okay.
And that'll get you in around that $600 level.
Okay.
But then when you make more money, then of course the rent is going to go up. We're not doing necessarily a lot of Section 8. You have to have a job. You have to have some employment. And that was one of the things that I envisioned as a child. Being in a community, people went to work every day.
Yeah.
And so we want kids that are living in the Summit to see you go to work.
Yeah.
That's part of, life.
Important.
Yeah.
Very important.
That is important.
And so one of my first times here, I sat in the pew and I heard you preach a sermon on being a MUT. And that to me, I was like, wait a minute. And this will all make sense for listening at home, that When I think of Pastor Walker, this is what I think about, like the MUT goals, and I think this is extremely applicable to anybody who's listening, who's a business owner, entrepreneur. So just get you to kind of explain. Now we do have a pastor here, and he's going to break this down.
I'm curious. I've never heard this.
Not in a sermon, but he's gonna give it to you. He might give you a mini sermon. So Pastor Walker, tell us what are MUT goals.
I'm not gonna give you a sermon, but long short, if you look in the Bible in the book of Numbers, chapter 13, when God told Moses to take the promised land, he got 12 spies, and 2 of those spies, one was Joshua, one was Caleb. They went into the promised land, and when they came back, the majority report, 10 of the spies said, we can't do it. There are giants in the land. Well, Joshua and Caleb said, let's go for it. God is with us. We can take it. The person that I zero in on that I really like a lot was Caleb. Caleb, now this is really important. He was not a Jew. He was a Gentile.
Mm-hmm.
And the word Caleb, or the name Caleb, means dog or mutt.
Yeah.
So I'm the mutt in the fight, right? So a MUT goal is a goal that God was sending Caleb and Joshua and Israel to face the giants, to take the land, and they backed down from it. But Caleb said, basically, we can do it. Well, later on, I think it was in Joshua, the book of Joshua, chapter 15, many years later, 40 years later, it's now time for Caleb to go and take his part of the inheritance. And what was really interesting, the goal that he set for himself, being the MUT, being the dog, he said to Joshua, give me the land of Hebron. Now, Hebron is hill country. And in the hill country, he had to fight giants. Now, can you imagine that? A guy saying, give me the most complex, the most difficult, I want to fight uphill, which puts me at a strategic disadvantage. I'm going to fight uphill, and when I get up the hill, then I got to take the giants, and I got to take the defense cities in the process of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's a MUT goal.
Yeah.
And so we say that a MUT goal basically is measured, is totally unrealistic, but it's time sensitive. A SMART goal, is specific, is measured, is attainable, is realistic, and it's time sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
And we say this, that the MUT goal, you really don't have to remember it. You have to keep reviewing my SMART goal. I have to review my SMART goal. What is a SMART goal? Okay, I'm going to forget it. And most people, the SMART goal would get you to second base, but it won't get you all the way home. A MUT goal will get you all the way home. Okay, so when I get up in the morning, I don't think about what are the SMART goals that I got to remember. The MUT goal is in my face all the time. So I'm going to always remember it. It's going to always be something that I believe will honor God, because it's way beyond what I could ever do in my own ability, in my own flesh. It gives honor, it gives glory to God, because it is what God is going to do. It is measurable. It is totally unrealistic, but we believe that it's time sensitive, and we're trusting God to bring that to reality. So we got the MUT in the fight. Caleb's, we need some Caleb's with a MUT goal to say this, we can do it. We said we could take this street, both sides.
Yeah.
And our expectation was we were going to do it piece by piece, but when God got an equation, guess what? 2 apartment complexes.
Yeah.
Almost 200 units of affordable housing. So it was a MUT goal, but God honored it, and he took that goal and he said, hey, let me show you how I can do some things that'll blow your mind.
Man, I got some MUT goals too, man. It's the type of things that you don't let you sleep.
There you go. A MUT goal keep you up at night.
Keep you up all night, yeah.
SMART goal to put you to sleep.
You wake up at 5 a.m. You're like, sheesh. I'm up early today.
Well, hey, look, I really, selfishly, I wanted to get that in recording so I can go back and listen to it, right? Most people got David Goggins as their, like, ringtone. I put that up there as my wake-up alarm. Like, SMART goal, you can stay in bed, but a MUT goal, you got to go, wake up.
No, MUT goal wakes you up. That's your alarm.
Yeah.
That's your alarm.
That's your alarm, man.
As a matter of fact, MUT goal will keep you awake at night, too. Sometimes at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, you're working on a MUT goal.
Next thing you know, it's 3 a.m.
Sometimes it's all night. I literally stayed up all night working on a MUT goal.
A couple of. Now, talk to us. How does that? I mean, obviously, we're standing across the street and we're looking at your MUT goal, like, it's come to life. But how did that apply to Summit at Sawyer, and, like, even, like, your future plans and initiatives for this particular project?
Well, the MUT goal for Summit at Sawyer, again, it was a multi-million-dollar project. It was $26 million. And of course, we didn't even have $1 million. So how do we attack it? How do we do it? Well, the city put out the RFP. One thing about the MUT goal, I think that when God honors it, he does some remarkable things. The city of Raleigh sold us all the land necessary for these units for $1. $1. So we were able to build the units using the low-income housing tax credits. But that's just the brick and mortar part of the project. When we talk about the economics that are necessary to keep a development like this thriving and doing well, it has to have economic opportunity that is surrounded around it. So that's the next part of our MUT goals is how do we bring economic opportunity to the community? One of the things we want to do is to find out who is in the neighborhood to have the side hustles. How do we build capacity in those businesses so that they can actually hire people? So we're going to bring economic opportunity for businesses to thrive in the zone, as well as, again, my background being IT. We want to bring STEM. We want to expose the kids to science, technology, engineering, and math. So those are the things that are necessary. I really don't have time to get into all of the issues and concerns and problems that we had in the process of getting this done, but there were many. But God was faithful. He helped us to get around each and every last one of those things.
If you want to hear those, make sure you listen to the documentary that we're working on.
That's what's up.
Be out
soonish.
Yeah, soonish. Yeah. We go. Yeah. We listening to you. We got MUT goals regarding that project, so we want to make sure that we. So we still be time sensitive, but so talk a little bit too about I know most pastors kind of brag about how big their church is. And I think something unique about you is that you kind of it's a point of like, man, this is what God has done with our church, even though we aren't like this isn't a mega church like you said. Like this reminds me of the church I grew up in. And I like just so close knit and I think how many members you guys have?
It's approximately 120 members on roll. We had about 200. COVID, we lost some people. So we are actually in the process of ramping back up again with the intention of MUT goal 1,000 people. We want to see 1,000 people saved, discipled, and won to Christ. Our congregation right now, on any average Sunday, you're looking at around 90 to 110 people on any given Sunday. That's men, women, and children. So it was interesting when we started taking on this project in 2019, COVID struck in 2020. So the congregation was saying, I guess that means we're going to put it on hold. And I said to everybody, ain't nothing changed.
Yeah. That's right.
I've said this, you know what's changed? Nothing. We're going to move on, and this is time sensitive. We're going to get it done, and we're going to get it done. So we had a small congregation, and we said, I told them, you guys are the sharp troopers. You know, you're the Marines. We don't have to have a bunch of people to do this. And I say to any pastor, the atomic level of ministry is just 2 people in ministry. If you can get 2 people to do something and work together, just like Jesus sent them out 2 at a time, you don't need 20 or 30, just 2. If you get 2 people working together, you can do some amazing things. So our whole ministry is structured around just 2 people working together, not having a ton of people to try to get 50,000 people to do something simple. So we don't look at our size. That's not an inhibitor. We are not too big to fail. We're too small to fail.
Ooh. That's a quote right there. When Todd told me that, like, there's a church that built like a huge complex, he mentioned like, because at first I'm thinking like you guys like a mega church. He's like, there's 50 people. I think you said 50. He's like, only 50 people in this church.
I might have been Sunday I came. It was like,
Todd was like, there's only 50 people here in this church, and they're out here building buildings. How do they do that? And I was like, oh shoot, like usually people would think like, hey, like only a mega church could raise enough money to go out there and build like what you guys did. But like that just proved to just what God's doing here. Also to like what you just said, like only takes 2 people. Only takes 2 people. Like have faith. I think this last Sunday or yesterday you said confess, pray and have faith. And so if that those 2 people out there have those things, I think they can make a lot of things happen with their MUT goals. So
Yeah. 1 chance 1,000, less than 1%, then you're in a position to win.
yeah,
And you win by taking the large stuff, the big stuff. Everybody's fighting for scraps. If you want to get $100,000, you're probably going to have 50 people trying to get it.
yeah,
Go after 26 million. You know how many people at the table?
not
One.
much.
Me.
Yeah,
What are my chances
not
of
much.
winning? 100%.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
only one church sitting at the table. That's me.
yeah, yeah.
And so I believe that the bigger the goal, the greater the odds are, or the better the chance you're going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the smaller stuff that you have a lot of scraps you're fighting for. So I always go for the biggest, the baddest, the best, the boldest, because I know that a lot of people may be saying, we can't do that. That's not for us. So that means the crowd is already thinned out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
My chances of winning are far greater. So victory with less than 1%. All it takes is just that 1%. And God will take care of the rest. I believe that we are complete in Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got 1%. He's got 99.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, just to because we had a ton of more interviews today with you, and we'll get you to go in more detail as well. But the last two questions, if you could, like, what is your prayer for the city of Raleigh, just specifically the Southeast Raleigh community, and then also tell people where they can learn more about the summit at Sawyer and Mount Pleasant.
Well, I think my prayer for the city of Raleigh is an up and coming city. And a lot of people that are underserved and underrepresented are being pushed out. For example, our area has been heavily gentrified. I would never have thought in a million years that we would have houses starting at 545,000. These are townhouses right beside us.
Yeah.
So
Three stories. We passed
the
on the
3
way
stories.
earlier.
Yeah.
Starting 545.
Yeah.
It's a stone's throw from the church.
Yep.
And so I would have never thought that because, as I said earlier, we were buying property for $5,000 for a quarter of an acre. So now it's valuable, and that means that people who have historically lived here, they get pushed out.
Yeah.
And so the church has to have the vision to say, "Hey, look, this is what we want to do," and we believe that a partnership between the city, businesses, and the church is what's going to turn things around, especially for those that are underserved. So I think that my heartbeat for the city of Raleigh is that the city has a lot of property, has a lot of land. Can we repeat what we've done? But the church needs to be involved. And I say this real quick. I think that it's necessary for the church to involve, because once the business owners, the developers, and others who have built these apartments, once they leave, the church is going to be here. And so I think that my heartbeat for the city of Raleigh, my prayer will be that the city will be more open to having a partnership with churches, specifically, not just nonprofits, but with churches, because it's the church is going to make the greatest difference. And I think that in a meeting that I was in some time ago, one of the city employees said that the most valuable person sitting at this table is Reverend Walker. He acknowledged that the role of the church is the most important thing when it comes to housing and economic development. So that would be my role for the city. My vision for the city is that more people in the city will see the value of church and the role that we can play in terms of changing our communities.
Well, hey, thank you, Pastor Walker. We're looking forward to delivering this video. I think yesterday and doing some of the interviews,
it's gonna be good.
Yeah,
it's gonna be good.
We got interviewed some really cool people. Got some great stories. So yeah, we're excited. Thank you for letting us tell your story.
Yeah,
tell the story here, and man, we're excited. So hey, we'll see you guys next time
on the VBG brief. We out.
Hell well.